My name is Peter Tully, and I'm a park ranger in the Scottish Highlands. New listeners, here's a summary. My wife and I moved to Scotland in 2004. Our home sits in a cursed village at the edge of a forest, and I was enticed to this place by a job prospect that ultimately sealed our doom. I'm a former police officer, but it wasn't until I entered this forest that I experienced true fear. I've seen things over the past 20 years that would ice your flesh. Matthew Wright was the aged man who offered me the role. He warned me that horrors hid in the woods, but he failed to divulge that it would be my prison. If any villager attempts to leave this place, they join the legions of terrors within the forest. And that is why I sacrifice myself to the woods on a nightly basis. It is my lot in life. The Highlands of the Dead is a sick region. It demands minds, and park rangers bear that burden. In turn, this paranormal place spares the village. I wish that were the end of my tale, but life has not dealt fair cards. In 2006, after 2 years on the job, Henry was born. "I can't believe we have a Scottish baby," my wife joked. "I'm not sure that's how it works, Maria," I replied, smiling. "We're still English." "You're living in denial," she said. "The wee lad will be down at the pub with you and Matthew before long, downing pints and talking about that one time he saw an adder snake in the forest. I don't know. I have no idea what you two discuss." I grunted, changing the subject, but my wife wouldn't let it lie. "Why do you hate talking about your job?" she asked. It's just Matthew. He's my boss. It's hard to see him as a friend," I said. I couldn't bring myself to tell her the truth. How would I have approached the topic? Matthew lured us here under false pretenses. The forest is cursed. We're cursed. She wouldn't have believed me. Oh, great. I'm sounding just like the old man now, I thought. I tried to focus on the tiny beacon of light that we had brought home with us. Life had given us something pure. I had a wife and a son. Not everything about my existence was terrible. Still, you wouldn't be here if I had a pleasant story to tell. It was late November, 2006. Henry was 10 months old, and I was so consumed by the duties of parenthood that I hardly had the mental fortitude to endure the forest's nightly torture. I spent most evenings sleeping in the sheltered room at the top of the watchtower. My heart felt lighter, in truth. The woods can't hurt me anymore, I told myself. But the pathways in my sleep-deprived brain clearly weren't connecting. I should have realized that I wasn't allowing the forest to feed on my soul, and that meant it was hungry.
"Peter!"
Maria screamed. Her shattering cry of agony woke me from my pre-work nap. Drenched in sweat, I rubbed my eyes and glanced at the alarm clock. 9:30 p.m., an hour before my shift began. "Maria?" I sleepily groaned. "Henry's gone," she shrieked, in a voice barely human. Every tendon in my body tensed. I leapt up, donned my ranger gear, and rushed into the baby's room. The window had been shattered, and Henry's empty cot rocked eerily in the wind. I heard the smash, and, Peter, he was already gone when I came upstairs," Maria sobbed, before screaming again. "Who would take him? Who would do this?" "I don't know, Maria," I said, embracing my wife. "But we'll bring him home. I will find him." I ran out of the house, beelining for my car, and noticed black clouds merging with the night sky. A storm approached. My neighbour, Tommy, was standing in his front garden. With elbows pointing outwards, he clasped his hips with his hands. He was sucking his teeth and disapprovingly shaking his head. "Careful on your shift tonight, Peter," he warned me. "Weather's taken a... Tommy, I need you and Maggie to watch Maria for me," I interrupted whilst unlocking my car. The man frowned. "What the devil is the matter with you, lad?" I pointed animatedly at the non-existent second-floor window of my house. When Tommy saw it, his eyes widened. "What's happened there?" he asked. "I don't know," I said, opening the car door. "But I don't care about that, Tommy. Henry's gone." I didn't stop to say anything else. Something in my gut told me that I had to drive. Henry was in the forest. I could feel it. I sped through the deserted streets of our village, heading onto the curved road which led into the Highlands of the Dead. And as I drove, I became aware of a growing rumbling from the sky above, a guttural groan. And then a blinding bolt of lightning illuminated the forest ahead. It was followed by a menacing thunderclap and a torrential downpour of rain. When I eventually arrived at the watchtower, the storm had reached a feverish crescendo of light and sound. The wooden structure was swaying uncertainly under the strain of the wind's endless onslaught, and as another lightning bolt struck the forest, it illuminated the sheltered room at the top of the watchtower. That was when I noticed something truly dreadful. The silhouette of a tall creature, with branch-like arms and legs. It almost had the shape of a woman, and in its arms, it cradled a bundle. Henry. The lightning disappeared, and the room plunged back into darkness. I flew out of my car and trudged through the thick, slushy muck leading up to the watchtower's staircase. Lighting the way with my torch, I took the steps 2 at a time, repeatedly losing my footing on the drenched metalwork. A sudden smashing noise startled me, and I braced myself against the handrail. I'm surprised I heard it over the roar of rain and thunder, but paternal instincts are unimaginably powerful, and the hair on my skin was standing upright. I leant over the side of the railing, looking up to the top of the watchtower, and then I screamed in horror as I saw 2 shriveled, discoloured arms shakily stretching over the edge of the top floor's railing. Fingers of an abnormal length were curled around a familiar star-covered blanket. There was absolutely no doubt in my mind. Henry was inside. I screamed. I was still 20 feet from the top floor. I wasn't going to make it in time. The creature's fingers released, and the bundle plummeted. I felt the world slow. As I curled my back over the edge of the railing, I watched the blanket unravel above me, and little Henry, with limbs flailing, tumbled out of it. His terrified eyes were swimming with tears, and he screeched manically as he fell towards me. His body clunkily connected with my chest, and I frantically scrambled to scoop him up. Against all odds, I caught him. I lost my footing for a second, but I managed to brace my body against the railing, and then I pulled the 2 of us to safety. Head throbbing, I fled down the staircase, and I was perplexed to find another park ranger vehicle parked alongside mine. It was Matthew.
What are you doing here?
I screamed over the rain.
Maria called me,
Matthew shouted.
Is Henry okay?
Leave us alone, I growled, barging past the man. You've been sleeping up there on your shifts, Matthew continued. Not venturing into the forest, not feeding it. Have you been watching me? I asked. I have a village to protect, Peter, the man said. You need to take Henry home, I said, ignoring the man's chastising comments. I took Henry's baby seat from my vehicle and belted him into Matthew's car. Then I turned to face the top of the watchtower. I hadn't seen the looming slender creature emerge. Is it still up there? I wondered, bracing for the sight of a dark shape on the staircase. But nothing came. I'm an old man. I don't have much fuel left in the tank, boy, the man coughed. You don't want me to take the reins. I'd doom us all to oblivion. What did I see up there? I asked, ignoring him. A tall woman snatched Henry. Woman? Matthew asked, eyes wide and lip trembly. Yes, I said. Matthew eyed the watchtower before running around to the driver's door of his car. He took one last look at me and uttered a parting warning. Stay in the woods tonight. Do not retreat to the watchtower. I watched the man speedily drive away, and I sighed heavily. I was simply relieved to see Henry being taken to safety. As I stood in the heavy downpour, drenched to the bone, I wondered whether I might perish from hypothermia rather than whatever nightmare lurked in the woods. I had given the forest what it wanted. Not fear. It demanded attention. My baby's life had almost been snatched from me. I was terrified. What more could the Highlands want? Surely I had paid for my crime of neglecting the wretched place over the months. I wish Matthew had told me what would come next. The storm ceased. Not slowly. Not naturally. All sound abruptly halted, as did the rain and lightning. The clouds rapidly vanished, giving way to a patch of moonlight on the small clearing in which I found myself. A rumble began beneath my feet, the sound of earth shifting, and then a hand sprouted from the soil before me, the same hand I had seen earlier in the evening. Spidery fingers shot outwards at an alarming speed. Before I had an opportunity to react, the ghoulish palm had planted itself on my face. I sank into blackness. I wasn't in the forest anymore. I was in the world of that woman. She showed me terrors that, even after all of these years, I still struggle to put into words. I won't tell you all of the things I saw. Some horrors cannot and should not be seen. She showed me the bodies of my loved ones. Such visceral images, almost tangible. And I still remember Maria's face. Tears of blood trickled from her gouged eyes, and red streaks stained her pale cheeks. The woman tortured me with these visions for hours. When I woke, I was tucked under a blanket in my car. I panicked for a second, believing I'd shirked my duty. But then I saw Matthew's car beside me, and the man was sitting on the bonnet. I emerged from my vehicle on unsteady legs, and I checked my watch. It was some time after 7 in the morning. The dawning sun cast a fantastic glow over a forest which suddenly seemed so calm and soothing. A different realm than the one of the night before. I found you in the grass, Matthew said. I thought you'd be more comfortable in the car. I nodded, not willing to thank the man who'd sentenced me to that hellish life. It doesn't have to be this way, I said. There has to be something that could end all of this. Matthew paused for a long time before saying something utterly unexpected. Peter, you're not the only ranger burdened with this task. This undead affliction is a disease, and it's spreading. There are other villages and hamlets cursed by her. What is she? I asked. Nobody knows, Matthew replied. Somebody does, I said. I won't let Henry endure this fate. I have to find a way to save him. No, I have to find a way to save all of us. I won't be around to see that boy, the old man said. I'm so tired. And after 18 years, I'm starting to understand what Matthew meant.